Good morning, RLT, and everyone out there in YouTube. Good morning. Give me a one in the chat, please, if you can hear me okay. Excellent. Thank you, Jay. Thank you. I saw that we got Chris McCoy here, Kyle Bennett, Joe, Flo, Brian Davis. Brian Davis getting ready to go back to work, first time in 13 weeks. Gregory Gilbert. So good morning, everyone. Looks like we are getting a gap up in the markets. So pretty exciting. But we do have to realize also, Brian, not looking forward to going back to work. Also, I just want to make sure, just give me a quick one if you can see my chart that has the futures on there as well as SPY. Excellent. Thank you all. So gapping up in the market. Let's just, if we look at the futures here, right? So SPY obviously isn't printing yet because the market isn't open, but we look at the futures, we can see that we're gapping up. We're gapping right into resistance. We have, if I zoom in here a little bit on the S&P, we're gapping right into, we have, this is the daily 50, daily 100, and the daily 20 here. So we're above this, the 10 EMA here, but we do have these moving averages. So we're gapping right into resistance. And then of course we have the same going on here with NASDAQ. Same moving averages. We have the 100 here, we have the 50, and then we have the 20 on the daily. So again, gapping right into that resistance area. Now, here on ES, we actually are above the 10 EMA on the daily. And NASDAQ, we're just kind of hanging right there on the 10. So Stephen, do you know if it's better to trade the September expiration on NQ or switch to the December one? Are we talking about for a day trade? We're talking day trade? Scalping in the future. Well, so if you're trading, if you're day trading, right? And so the NQ, they both have 70-point difference between them. Okay. So what you want to do is if you're day trading, you want to use the one that's expiring. There's no reason to go as far out as September, right? I mean, you said October, right? Let me go back to your question. Or switch to this December one. Yeah. If you're day trading, you're in and out, so you're not going to be holding this, right? So you're scalping. So yes, I would just use the September one. Because you're not really worried about theta, right? On any type of on a day trade. If you were going to be holding, then that's a different story. So hopefully that answers your question. But anyway, back to the futures here. So again, gapping up. So yesterday we bullish candle, right? So if we are gapping up, and this is Fridays, we usually do a little bit of a beginner focus thing. So just real quick question then for the group. And if there's any, hey, Tony, good morning. If there's any newer traders or people who have just joined RLT, who I know that we had the retreat recently in Nashville. So maybe there's some newer traders here. So question is for the group is, okay, we have bullish day yesterday, gapping up. What kind of a gap are we looking at? For today, what type of a gap we'll be looking at for the markets? Go ahead and type that in the chat. Correct. Joe's got it. Yep. Retest gap. Yep. Tony, bullish retest gap. So bullish day, gapping up. What do we expect? Well, it's a retest gap. So we expect people to be instantly profitable. There's going to be some selling, right? There's going to be profit takers. And that profit taking is going to cause a retest. So that means that price will come back down and retest previous areas before going back up. So when we do gap up, don't be surprised, or if there is an initial short sell-off. And then also keep in mind, we've got 3 bullish days in a row on the markets here. So 3 nice bullish days in a row. And then now again, we're gapping into some resistance. So, we'll wait and see where we open here on the SPY and the Qs in terms of the location and the proximity to the moving averages. But just be aware that it is a retest gap. So if you're going to get into something, wait for the retest. And when things do retest, you might get an initial retest, and then you might get a bigger retest later on. So just be aware of that. Let's go ahead and let me move some things around here. We will start, we'll start going through our 10 EMA plays. All right, should see the chart of Tesla now. So question, actually going back to the group, are there some traders here in the room right now who Chad's asking, where do we look to retest to? Okay, so Chad, we'll address that. So I was just going to ask if there's anybody here who was at the retreat in Nashville. Give me a 1 if you were at the retreat in Nashville. Sochi. But Sochi, you're not a new trader. Okay. Chad. So yeah, so Chad, we're going to go through this list, and we'll look at areas where we can possibly retest to, right? So that's part of the analysis when you're looking at this. So for Tesla, let's just, zoom in here. Okay. This is the daily chart here on Tesla. So I've gone ahead, I've adjusted all my lines. And so Chad, if you're new to this, this may seem like a jumbled mess of lines here, but it's actually not. It's what I have here is all these lines represent different areas. So all these moving averages, right? I have lines that represent the moving averages, and those carry over to my smaller time frame chart. So if you look here on the daily, I have all this purple line here above Tesla. That's the daily 200. And then this line above here is the weekly 50. And you can see how those carry over to my smaller time frame chart. So I color code everything so that I know when I look at my smaller time frames, I know exactly what I'm looking at and what those lines represent. So and then for the 10 EMA strategy, we indicate the high and the low from the previous day, and that's these green lines. So you can see here, I've got a green line here and a green line here, and those carry over to my smaller time frame. So right now on Tesla, we're gapping above yesterday's close, yesterday's high. And so we have a retest gap. So to answer your question, Chad, where could we possibly retest to? Well, let's go into then to answer that question. I've got a green line here, and I already did a little bit of analysis, but we will go ahead and pull up this chart here. Okay. And so here, this group of charts here, this is where I look to do my multi-time frame analysis pre-market. So I've got a 15-minute chart here. This is a 30-minute chart, and this is a 1-hour chart. And using the volume profile here, I'm looking at the 30-minute and I'm looking at the 1 hour down here. And I see that the volume profile right here, right? The point of control is this red line. And then this area here, if you look on the 30-minute chart here, this is where price came up here. It hit this level, got rejected, right? But then it went through it, and now we're above it. So this level here, this point of control, this area of high volume, which yesterday rejected price and acted as resistance, should now act as support. So, and that green line aligns both on the 30-minute and the 1 hour. This might be a little hard to see because it's a small little chart, But that green line here, if I switch this one to, I'll move this one to the 1 hour, just so we can get a better sense. Okay. So that green line here pretty much aligns with this same level. Okay. And again, on the 1 hour, we also have this high area of volume, right? And again, this came up here, provided resistance, came back down, but then broke through. So that is an area. Now, does that mean it's going to retest there? No, it doesn't. And then could it retest even lower? Of course it could. But that is an area that I've already identified that I would expect if it's going to retest, it would come down to that level. And so I've got that green line on my chart. We will keep an eye on that level for Tesla. Let's go to NVIDIA. And well, before we do, let me go back to Tesla before we move on. If we do get long on Tesla, which that would be the indication, Chad, you're welcome. That would be the indication that we would be going long, right? So you want to trade with the market typically. If the market's going bullish, we should be looking to go bullish with whatever trades that we're entering, but you do want to be aware of these levels up here. So if you get in long on Tesla, we are looking at some overhead resistance in the form of these moving averages, the 200 here, the weekly 50. So those can act as magnets, but they can also then reject price once it gets there. So just, you want to be aware of those levels. So if you are in a trade, you'll be looking to take potential profit. If you get to the smaller time frame here, so it's a 5-minute chart, I will be switching that to the 3-minute chart when the market opens, but you can see these levels are right here, right? So those will be levels where you might want to be looking to lock in a little bit of profit, depending on the setup. That could be the 1.2 target. It all depends on what the setup is. All right, let's take a look at NVIDIA. All right, so right now, NVIDIA, if I zoom in here, I'm going to adjust this line a little bit. This is my, back to my lines. This is these kind of golden lines here. Those are the pre-market high and pre-market low. And so I adjust those as well. You also want to be aware of what those levels are once you're into an intraday trade. So NVIDIA, you can see here right now, price, here's the pre-market high right here. NVIDIA, we do have this gap to fill, okay? We also have, this is the daily 10 coming down here. So you do have some overhead resistance here. If I zoom out a little bit on the chart, you can see though that we do have some room to run here, and we do have this gap to fill. So let's take a look at, let's see where, when price opens, where we can come back to. And Chad, back to, hey, Hector. Chad, the other thing just to be aware of is, yes, I'm going to go in, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to look at the higher timeframes, but a retest also could just come right back to the, just right back to this candle, right? That could be the retest. So it all depends on a couple of different factors and how, how profitable people are and how aggressive people are going to be with taking profit, those who are profitable. So let's take a look at NVIDIA on the higher time frame. Switch us back to a 30-minute chart. So again, I want to look for a potential level where NVIDIA could come down to. So if it retests, right? So we have, here's the high from yesterday. So that's certainly a level to keep an eye on. And then here's the point of control from on the 30-minute chart from yesterday and into the aftermarket hours. Now, again, here, what's interesting is this is the high, came up here, got rejected, right? And then got up here, and then see how it's held here pre-market. So I would anticipate on NVIDIA, maybe just a retest back to this green line, which would be the high from yesterday. Because as you can see, that was where price got rejected during the session yesterday at the high, came back down, but then broke it post market and held that level, and now it's going up. So this level here, right, previous resistance becomes support. So we could just retest to that line there. I am just going to, let me zoom in here a little bit on the 1 hour. So on the 1 hour, if we take a look at the point of control, let me do it here just so we have a little bit of a bigger chart. Okay, on the 1 hour, now this is interesting. So point of control, right, is this dashed line down here. But if you take a look at the volume profile here, it's like a big block here, right? That big block is that greatest amount of volume. So it's really a zone if you think about it, right? So the level that I'm going to keep an eye on, it may not come all the way back down here. And again, this should be previous resistance, should be support. If we throw a line on here, I'm just going to drop a line right here, right on top of this block. I'm going to color code that. I'm just going to make it green just so I will be able to see it when I'm in my intraday. So what I'm thinking here is if it comes down and retests yesterday's high, maybe it throws a lower wick down in here, because this should also be a strong level of support right here, this block, this volume area, high volume area. So maybe we come down here, maybe it throws a lower wick, then it looks to go up. So keep an eye on NVIDIA on that level. And by the way, any of these that are gapping up obviously will be in play right away. But again, remember that it's a retest gap. So we will be expecting price to come back down. Again, doesn't mean it will has to happen, but that's typically what we do anticipate happening. Okay, let's take a look at Amazon. Okay, Amazon pushed a little bit higher. Let me adjust this pre-market line. All right, Amazon, just a ton of lines here. So let's just dissect all this. So, and I do have to mark off the low from yesterday. That's right inside. Let me just drag this line up. I don't need to have the exact level because we're going beyond bullish today. Okay, so yesterday, price got rejected. This is the 10 EMA on the daily. Price got rejected right here. We're sitting right on that right now. Okay, so that pre-market high that we're looking at, no, I'm sorry. That's the my bad. That's actually the we're gapping above that. That's the pre-market low, and the 10 EMA are here. So we're gapping above. Here's our level that we're at right now. So we're gapping above these moving averages, which is nice. So we could expect some support. Chad, back to your question about where, right? So if this gaps up, look how, if you look on this is just the 5-minute chart, but you look how price has been holding that 20 EMA on the daily. That's this black line here. So 10 EMA here, the 20 here, this black line. And if you notice how price has been holding that should be a level of support. Now, again, is that going to hold or is it going to retest further? We don't know. We won't know until the market opens. We have to watch to see how it goes. On the this heavy line here, okay, that is the monthly 10 EMA. So you can see I've got that as a wider line. So I know just looking at that is a stronger level of resistance, overhead resistance here, because that is a monthly moving average. But we do have room to run here. So our area of where we can run above here is up to this level here. Doesn't mean we can't go through it. We could, but that's if you look at the size of the candles, right? If we open here, that would be a pretty big candle because we do expect it to retest a little bit down into here. But let's look at Amazon on over here. So let's go back to the 30-minute real quick, analyze it there. So just want to zoom in a little bit here. Right in here. Okay. So we are double topping. If you go back, right? So right now we're here. Here's previous. This was from a week ago, right? Or is this Monday? This would be, I guess, Monday. Anyway, we're double topping, right? So just be aware of that wherever we're opening here, we're double topping. So we would want to see, again, if this was previous, if I zoom in here, and again, this is the 30-minute chart. If I zoom in here, you can see that the price got rejected here, but we're gapping above that. So previous resistance should provide support. So that's just good to know when you're looking at that moving average, that should provide some type of support. Now, again, it doesn't mean that we can't wick down through it. Of course we can. So if we zoom into the 30-minute chart here, where do we have some strong levels of support underneath here, right? I'm not sure if this is an accurate wick or not. That's sometimes you'll see these long wicks pre-market, and sometimes they're not real. And does anyone using TradingView, do you have that on your chart as well? Do you have this? This is a 30-minute chart. Just curious if you have this long wick pre-market. Okay, so Flo has it. Okay, Hector. Okay, all right. So, but anyway, in terms of the level of, so when you're looking here at the volume profile here from yesterday and the pre-market, you can see that we do have a strong level of volume here, right? And again, this level right here, which is also happens to be this is the daily 10 EMA, and then this is the pre-market low right here. But you can see that this area provided resistance here, and then we broke through it. So somewhere down in this range here, somewhere, I'm not going to drop in a green line. I just know that this pre-market low and the 10 EMA on the daily are this level. Now, could we retest down into here? Sure, but that's going to be the initial. But we do have also here, this is the daily 200. Okay, so if we go back to the daily chart, you'll see here that if we do retest down in this level, so looking at it on the daily, we could potentially retest down right down into here, the pre-market low, 10 EMA. But then we also have this is actually not the daily, this is the weekly 200 right here. So you do have some nice support underneath here. Okay, so if price does come down in here, you just be aware that this the weekly 200 is here, and you should find some support right. And coincidentally, that 10 EMA and the pre-market low are sitting right on top of where we closed yesterday. So that's where I would anticipate a retest for Amazon into that level. Yeah, Jason says those long lower wicks that he typically ignores them. Yeah, I don't pay too much attention to that. I mean, there must have been some type of settlement or something that had to go on here, so, but yeah, I don't really pay much attention to those long lower wicks, especially when you look at the volume on that, right? I mean, this candle here next to it had over 10,000 shares, and this one with the long lower wick had it had 9, almost 10. Albert, I really don't know. That's the honest answer. And Flo says it's always at 8 a.m. Yeah, so it's it's hard to know whether it's real or not. I mean, again, this could just be orders that had to get settled that were already sitting here. And so, they get filled and that creates that long lower wick. All right, let's move on to AMD. All right, so AMD, just quick look here at the pre-market. You can see here that this pre-market high right here, right? Definitely battling that level, right? It's gone up against it several times now, right? Pre-market. So certainly some level of overhead resistance here pre-market. Now, if we zoom in here on the daily, you can see here's the pre-market high right here, this orange line, but here's the daily 10 EMA right on top. So that's this line here on the smaller time frame. So we do have some overhead resistance there. Again, we're gapping up, so we'll expect it to retest down into this level here. We go into 30-minute and 1 hour. We'll take a look at where. So, but again, this, the high of yesterday, this is where, price got rejected and then we broke above it and now we are holding above it. So, but we are up against this level here. So you've got the pre-market low, which could potentially provide some type of support. You have yesterday's high. You also have this large area of volume here from yesterday. So we'll just have to see. And then, I also, for the 30-minute, you also have, here's the 20 EMA, here's the 50. So you do have some levels of support below here. We'll just have to see how much AMD retests. You look at the 1 hour real quick, just to see if that shows me anything else. Yeah, so on the 1 hour, we do have, what's interesting, okay, is look, the pre-market low right here. This is I look at these as like blocks, right? It's a pretty big level of volume. So again, this pre-market low could provide a nice level of support. Could it wick through and go down into here? Sure. But that's a pretty good level if you take a look at this volume profile. Hey, Brian. Brian, I was just noticing, is this the D shape that you were talking about? Or is that more of if Brian and I were having a conversation yesterday, we did a Zoom call, but we were just talking about volume profile, and there's letters that are associated with, so Brian's saying, that could be like a D shape here. So anyway, you want to be aware of where these point of controls are, where these big blocks of volume are. And there's our opening bell. Okay, market's opened. I'm going to sign off from YouTube. Thank you for being with us. And if you'd like to join our community, come on over to reallifetrading.com. We'd love to have you join us. We have a great group of traders. We trade together all day, every day, and a terrific community. But have a wonderful weekend. Happy Friday.